So I have chosen the roommate that's an atheist, and we get into a lot of debates over the reality of if God is real and if Jesus Christ is really the Messiah, and if either of them are even a real thing. She comes from a single-parent family, and she's really focused on herself and self-accomplishments and being a successful adult. And she one day asked me what all the Jesus stuff really means, and some things that I need to focus on in my description of the gospel is relationships, belonging before believing, service, time, and prayer / Holy Spirit. And then the communicating elements, verbal, I need to avoid confrontational language and churchy words. Nonverbal, I need to be non-argumentative in my tone and not superior. And I need to allow for personal space, don't stand over her, engaging and respectful eye contact. And I need to be direct and clear in the information that I give. So this is the gospel story. In the beginning, everything was perfect. And of course, that's a paraphrase because the real first sentence that comes in the story is, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And after creating everything in humans, God said that it was good, and then he rested, and that was the beginning, and everything was perfect. There was no sin, there was nothing wrong, and we had a perfect relationship between humans and God. And then the fall came, and if the world, some people ask, if the world was so perfect then, why is it so broken now? And it's not that God made it broken, it's not that he did anything that broke it, it was us that broke it. He made everything perfect, and he gave us one rule, don't eat this fruit, because it will kill you. And we decided that we wanted to eat the fruit because it would give us the knowledge that God had, and we wanted to have that same knowledge that he has. And so we disobeyed him, and it led to the world becoming broken. But God didn't just say, to hell with it, I'm scrapping the world to make one without humans that'll break it. He says that he will fix it, and that there will be a time when he will come back and he will fix it. And so that is the fall. And the rest of the Old Testament is made up of promises between him and between God and man, which are also called covenants, and prophecies, where he tells humans that he is picked to be prophets, what to tell the rest of the people that he wants them to know. And so now everything is broken and messed up, and people keep getting worse and worse as more generations are born. So God chooses one family to stay in contact with personally, and they're called Hebrews back then, and then they were known as the Israelites, and today we know them as the Jews. And he used them to be his voice to the rest of the people in the world that didn't want to listen to him. And so because he chose them to be his voice, he promises to protect them, make them wealthy, give them favor in his eyes, and to be with them. And which sounds really good and really easy, but in exchange they have to follow all of his rules, and they have to tell the world, all the people, not just the Jewish people, they have to tell everybody who he is and what he's going to do to fix the world. But instead of doing that, they just take his gifts and they don't follow his rules. They try to, but it's hard, and we are broken people because of the sin and the brokenness that we brought into the world. So they can't follow the rules. And so instead of keeping up their end of the deal, they only take his end, and they gloat, and they don't tell anybody else about what he is going to do, how he's going to fix the world, and who he is. And instead they only take everything that he gives to them without giving back what they promised to him. And so they stop following God's rules, and God tells the Jews about one man that he is going to send to fix everything, to do what they didn't do, which then brings us to the virgin birth. And one of the prophecies that God tells about who this man will be that he's sending is that he will come from a virgin, that a woman will become pregnant, but she will have never been with a man. And so if every other prophecy that God told the Jews in the Old Testament came true, it stands to reason that this one too will also come true. So when a woman becomes pregnant and she's never been with a man, and right before that, an angel comes to her and says that this is going to happen, we have to believe that when she did get pregnant, we have to believe that she never was with a man, because the prophecies, all the other past prophecies were true, and she was visited by an angel that said this is going to happen, so we have to believe it. And so the one who was born to the virgin is known as God with us, or Emmanuel in the Jewish language. And he's known as that because he is God born into a human body. But he's not just God, he is God in a human body. This means that he feels the temptation to do wrong things, to sin like we do. But he is God, first and foremost, and so he's able to resist the temptation to sin where we can't, because we're not God, and we are only human, and we only have a sinful body. And so this is Jesus, and while he was alive, he did everything the Jews didn't. He followed the rules and all the people, and told all the people, every people, about who he was, who God was, and what he would be doing to fix the world. And he healed sick, he gave orphans a home, and he gave people love that wouldn't be loved otherwise. And but the Jewish leaders at the time didn't like that Jesus was making them look bad and telling everybody about what they were doing wrong. And so they falsely accused him of crimes and that he didn't commit, and they convinced all the people that Jesus had been ministering to that he deserved to die. And so everyone demanded that he be put to death in the most painful way invented by man, which is hung from nails through his hands and his feet to a wooden cross. And just before Jesus takes his last tortured breath, he says, "It is finished, it is done." And after he says this and dies, the earth quakes, and the barrier between God and people that was created because of the first sin is torn apart and destroyed. But because he didn't deserve to die, and in the first sin it said, "Don't eat of this fruit or you'll die," it wasn't specifically just talking about fruit; it was talking about sinning. And so the result of sin has to be death. It's like a law. It's like gravity. What goes up must come down. Who sins must die. It's just the law that God created in nature. And because Jesus, who was God, never committed any sin and died the death only a sinner deserved to die, he can't stay dead. So when Jesus breaks the chains of death, he guarantees that death can never separate God from humans because of their sin ever again. And so now he's alive again, and because he's risen from death to life, when he finishes showing his followers and all the people that he knew when he was alive the first time that he is back alive again after dying, and which proves that he is God, and proves that and assures his followers that if you follow me, which is his followers from then and followers now, the Christians, if you follow me,